Citizens and brothers and sisters who were protesting me being here. And we had a great conversation, and they gave me an American flag. They put it right here, it's a very kind gift. And I think that they gave it to me because they know something about my history. I was born in a militant Black Panther family. Okay, I I mean, you would think, No, I was actually, my dad, I was born in 1968, and my dad was a cop in the military. He was born in abject poverty in Memphis, Tennessee. He grew up in a place called Orange Mound, Memphis. And if you know anything about the South in our country, that was the biggest Black ghetto in the country before Harlem overtook it in the 1930s. He grew up in abject poverty. He joined the military in the middle of a conflict so he could get out and put himself through college, which he did. He also put his little brother through college. And he put his cousin through college. Then he put me and my sister through college. That was my dad. And I have a special affection for this flag. Had it most of my life, but I especially had it when they folded it up and handed it to my mother when my father passed away 3 years ago, next month. We're all Americans here. No side in this debate has a monopoly on patriotism. No side in this debate has a monopoly on love for our country. And I think we're all going to do a lot better solving these problems when we recognize that. Having said that, I was born in 1968. And as you know, that was the year that they tried to assassinate hope in our country. That was the year they assassinated Bobby Kennedy. That was the year they shot down Martin Luther King Jr. That was the year they beat up a bunch of young kids in the streets of America outside the Democratic Party convention in Chicago who wanted America to be better and wanted us to have peace. 1968, the year I was born, was the year they tried to assassinate hope in our country. And we're in a church, so I guess it's okay to speak in biblical terms. We spent 40 years in the wilderness. Between 1968 and 2008. It took 40 years for hope to come back as a mass phenomenon. I remember being in kindergarten, and a little kid, okay, he was a horrible little bully, and I hated him, but every time I see Elmer's glue, and I know what it tastes like, I hate this kid. But I digress. This kid's name was Patrick Carmody. Did you ever meet him? Is he here? Still in therapy because of it. But anyway, but he asked Miss Brown a question, our kindergarten teacher. He was asking some question. He said, "Who is Bobby Kennedy?" Now this was, I think it had been in our weekly reader or something, and this is 1973, 5 years later. She started to cry in front of the whole class, trying to explain who Bobby was. I'd never seen a grown person cry. But I didn't know they could cry. 5 years later, the pain was still there. And 10 years later, too. And that's why, having been a part of something so special, to see hope come back to this country. I don't care what anybody says on either side of the political divide. Hope is a renewable resource in our country, but it comes back in very long cycles. Okay? And so I don't care how excited some people get about the politics of hatred on either side. I'm going to stand for the politics of hope. And I'm not going to let the hope die again in this country on my watch. And I hope you'll join me. Now I think it's especially important for the young people here to have that spirit and that attitude. I know a lot of young people thought that we were going to get this election done, everybody was going to be happy, and it was all going to be great. And it turns out that hope is easier than change. Surprise! Now, hope is hard to come by when you're depressed. Ask me how I know. I'll give you my travails and lakes. But hope is hard to come by when you're depressed, when you're down. But we all know that change is harder than hope. You know it in your personal life. Some of you, like myself, may be, 10 or 15 pounds overweight. Past 40, and then you start, adding inches every month. And so you might think to yourself, as I did earlier today, coming up here, I know I told my wife I'm going to lose this weight this year. But, we're Dairy Queen. And she's not here. So I'm going to get the small vanilla milkshake. That's called despair. That's despair. And then, as often happens, it actually just happened, you'll see a magazine or something, some kind of fitness magazine, and there they are, right on the cover. Somebody with the washboard abs, and the pecs, and the bicep, and the tricep. And you look and you see the magazine cover and you say to yourself, I could look like that. That's called hope. It's important, but that's called hope. Actually changing your diet, actually going to the gym, actually doing the crunches, actually doing the sit-ups, and going back again and again and again, and losing the 15 pounds. That's called change. And that's harder. And it goes back and forth, goes up and down. It's not linear. You have good days and you have bad days. And in politics, you have good years and you have bad years. But here's what you know about the process of change. If you in your individual life go from despair to hope, to struggling to get you to change, and just give up and go all the way back to despair, you know one thing: change is now impossible. And we have a responsibility to this country. We have a responsibility to our children. We have a responsibility to the people of the world who celebrated our incredible, beautiful breakthrough on both sides of the political aisle. But we had a beautiful breakthrough in this country. that inspired the world. We have a responsibility to the children of all species, no matter how tough the change gets, not to go back, not to surrender, not to go all the way back to despair.